My name is Oliver Gray, and this is the story of how I became known as the youngest detective to ever solve the unsolvable. I wasn't always a detective, though. I was just a curious boy who lived in a small, peaceful town that seemed like the least likely place for a mystery to unfold. That was until the silver key case changed everything. It all started on a brisk autumn evening. I was 13 at the time, a kid with an insatiable love for puzzles and riddles. My family owned a quaint little bookshop nestled between a bakery and a clock repair shop. I spent most of my free time tucked away in the corner of that shop, nose buried in mystery novels, secretly dreaming of one day solving a real-life case. But I never expected that day would come so soon. Chapter 1: The Disappearance. The incident that sparked it all began with the sudden disappearance of Mrs. Eleanor Finch, an eccentric, elderly woman who lived at the edge of town. She was a recluse, known only for her odd collection of antiques and her impressive estate. No one had seen her in days, and her housekeeper, Mrs. Hardy, reported her missing. The police investigated but found no signs of foul play. They concluded that perhaps she had wandered off, maybe lost her way in the nearby woods. But I wasn't so sure. There was something strange about her vanishing, something that didn't sit right with me. Mrs. Finch wasn't the type to go anywhere without leaving a note or telling someone. Her house was always meticulously organized, and she had routines she followed religiously. The police may have written it off as just an old woman getting lost, but I suspected something more. I decided to investigate. I didn't tell anyone about my plans. After all, who would take a 13-year-old boy seriously? So, one afternoon, I ventured to the Finch estate on my own. Chapter 2: The Clue in the Attic. The Finch mansion was as grand and foreboding as the stories made it out to be. Ivy crawled up the stone walls, and the iron gate creaked ominously as I pushed it open. I had no idea what I was looking for, but I knew there had to be a clue somewhere. I circled the house and found a side window that Mrs. Finch often left unlocked. Slipping inside, I found myself in the dusty, dimly lit library. The house was eerily silent, and as I explored, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching me. I combed through the house, room by room, but found nothing unusual. That was until I reached the attic. The attic was cluttered with old furniture, boxes, and trunks, but something caught my eye almost immediately. In the far corner, there was a small, intricately carved chest with a silver lock. It looked out of place among the other dusty relics. As I knelt beside it, I noticed something odd, a silver key, half hidden under a rug nearby. It was as if someone had tried to hide it in a hurry. I picked up the key, my heart racing. Could this be the key to the chest? I fit it into the lock, and with a soft click, the chest opened. Inside, to my surprise, was not a treasure or a pile of old letters, but a single, yellowing piece of paper with a hastily scrawled message: "Trust no one." Chapter 3: The Unseen Enemy. With the note in hand, I felt a chill run down my spine. What had Mrs. Finch been afraid of? Why had she hidden this message, and who was she warning? I left the house with more questions than answers. Over the next few days, I noticed something strange happening around town. There were whispers about Mrs. Finch, strange rumors about her fortune, and suspicious activity near her estate. It was as if the whole town had suddenly become interested in her disappearance, but not for the reasons you'd expect. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. Every time I went out, I caught glimpses of shadowy figures, always disappearing before I could get a good look. I knew then that I was onto something bigger than just a missing person case. Someone, or a group of people, was watching me, and they didn't want me to uncover whatever secret Mrs. Finch had left behind. Chapter 4: The Secret Society. As I dug deeper into Mrs. Finch's life, I uncovered a shocking truth. Mrs. Finch had once been part of a secret society known as the Circle of Seven. It was an underground group of wealthy and influential individuals who had operated in the shadows for decades. They dealt in rare artifacts, and some even whispered that they dabbled in the occult. I couldn't believe it. Mrs. Finch, the quirky old woman who collected antique clocks, had been part of something this dark and dangerous. And now she had vanished, leaving behind that cryptic note. The more I learned about the Circle of Seven, the more I realized that this wasn't just about Mrs. Finch anymore. There were others involved, people in positions of power, people who would stop at nothing to keep their secrets buried. But the key I had found in her attic, that was the key to something much bigger. Chapter 5: The Labyrinth of Lies. I was on the verge of giving up when I received an anonymous letter, slipped under the door of our bookshop late one night. It contained only one sentence: "Meet me at midnight, by the old well." It was a trap. I knew it was a trap. But I also knew it was my only chance to get answers. That night, I snuck out of the house and made my way to the well on the outskirts of town. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the field. I approached cautiously, every nerve in my body on edge. As I neared the well, a figure stepped out from the darkness. It was Mrs. Finch. Chapter 6: The Final Puzzle. Mrs. Finch looked different, paler, weaker, but it was undoubtedly her. She explained everything in a hurried whisper. She had faked her disappearance after discovering that the members of the circle were plotting something terrible. They were after a legendary artifact, something called the Eye of Eternity, which was said to grant its owner unimaginable power. The key I had found was the only thing standing between them and the artifact. But Mrs. Finch wasn't the only one who had been keeping secrets. The people closest to me, the ones I had trusted all my life, were part of this conspiracy. I was stunned. My neighbors, my teachers, even some of my friends' parents, they were all involved. Chapter 7: The Confrontation. In the end, it all came down to a final confrontation in the abandoned church at the edge of town. The leaders of the Circle of Seven had gathered there, ready to claim the Eye of Eternity. Mrs. Finch and I arrived just in time to stop them. It was a tense standoff, but in the end, it wasn't clever tricks or hidden weapons that won the day. It was the truth. I revealed the evidence I had gathered, their plots, their lies, and one by one, their power crumbled. The police arrived shortly after, and the circle was dismantled. Chapter 8: The Aftermath. Life in the town returned to normal, but things were never quite the same for me. I had solved the mystery, but I had also uncovered a darkness that had been lurking just beneath the surface of our peaceful little community. Mrs. Finch eventually moved away, leaving the mansion empty, but we kept in touch. As for me, I continued to solve mysteries, though none quite as dangerous as the silver key case. At least, not yet. And that's how I became the boy detective who solved the case that no one else could.
Subscribe for more videos. Your support helps me create more content. Thanks for watching.